Welcome everyone, it is me Albert, and this is the Ghostbusters Afterlife extensive analysis of all thus far released material. And if you saw the last episode on the main show, 323, which was the 12th episode of the Elden Ring podcast, we sort of just sat with a lot of that material, and I ended up coming out of it enriched from having done some in-depth analysis and zooming in and sitting with some of the details of the material. So my hope is that in the same way with Ghostbusters Afterlife, I'll be doing the same, bringing up various different bits and pieces that have been released, and I believe that we will all, whoever's joining me on this one, but if anyone joins it'll just be me, but hopefully, who knows, it's up to you guys. But yeah, so going to parse through the material, everything that's been released so far, starting I believe with the most recent material, which I saw yesterday or maybe even this morning, which was a sticker of Gruberson, so Paul Rudd's character, and spoilers, 3, 2, 1, it had a key maker, or rather a keymaster motif on the sticker. So that's the latest that I've seen, but we've had some posters, and I'm also going to obviously dive into my relationship and engagement with Ghostbusters over the years, and so this will be episode 2 of the Ghostbusters podcast, and a follow-up to the first one, which Interdimensional, which was my pitch for a GBRPG, is what I'm calling it. It's what I called it in the Instagram post. And let's mosey along, shall we? Excellent. So the first thing I want to do, and I know that it just made me think of Min-Max. I heard that they do The Deepest Dive, etc. That's in their style, and my style is just my style, I guess. So to each their own. And for me, I believe I have a different approach. Everyone, if they just do their own thing, ends up having their own approaches anyway to things. And my approach will just be, especially with us approaching the release date of Afterlife, it's bringing into focus a lot of what has made me cherish the series for many years, and obviously primarily the first film, but there's a space in my heart for all of them, including Answer the Call. I still think a lovely animated series / live action series crossover would be great. I know that some young kids grew up with that, or have grown up, or are growing up with that film, particularly young girls, seeing themselves on screen, and that makes me happy. So I don't subscribe to any of the sort of outrage kind of stuff with that. For me, perfectly serviceable film, and I recently started rewatching it. I had watched Ghostbusters 1 and 2 about 2-3 weeks ago. We just moved into a new place here in Canberra, and there's a building which we have a fellow podcast, YHS, Yes Have Some podcast, so shout out to you lovely folks. And in my private message to them, I refer to it as like Canberra's Spook Central, maybe off of something that I spoke about with my fiance, which was that it really honestly feels like this building like appeared out of nowhere, and we have been long-time Canberrans, and it was so interesting to sort of just one day see it pop up, and it was very, like, if you think about it, a little bit supernatural that way, from a certain point of view. I've also been every Sunday tuning into a podcast called the Mega Strange Podcast, and their icon is the logo is a ghost, and it's an offshoot of Mega 64, or rather it's just one of their shows, and every episode is talking about supernatural occurrences, which is, as you can see, however heavy the times get, I'll always spark a smile when I think about that stuff. So as you may have seen, me just bringing up there the official website. Now, I've talked on other shows about my love for the art of the official website, or rather the craft, and something that I hope that isn't lost. I think that with social media, there's I think a friend of mine recently, I opened this topic up to my some pals over with the Bioshock podcast, Izzy and Erica, and I just posited to them about, I think I was talking about TikTok, and Erica very astutely pointed out, look, social media is here to stay, but it does change. it has changed. The roles have changed, and what I'm hoping for is after this sort of COVID nightmare that we're all in, that we'll all sort of Ebenezer Scrooge sort of wake up and have this increased appreciation for things that maybe we were starting to take for granted. And you might be like, wow, you're going on a lot about official sites, but I think I told the story of Van Helsing in 2004. I was still in high school, and when that was coming out, and you can look it up on the Wayback Machine. We can have a bit of a try at doing that. So if I go Wayback Machine, no promises because we have some material to make our way through. So if I just go Van Helsing, I don't think it was Van Helsing movie, but immediately after seeing, there you go, let's go 2003. Well, if this ends up being fairly simple and easy to do, yeah, big spike in 2014. I think my filter may be getting rid of some of the elements here. So I have a filter called Night Eye, highly recommend it. Just sort of easier on the eyes, everything. And I also recommend, you can't see it because of the zoom mask I've made, but there's another app here it's just called Shut Up. Like it's SHUT space UP, and it eliminates all comment sections. With very few exceptions, it eliminates all comment sections online, which, since discovering that, I've called it like an electric toothbrush moment, and the analogy being that once you've switched from normal toothbrush to electric, it's like you just can't go back. So we've had a couple of electric toothbrush moments, as we've been discovering new ways of doing things with COVID. So, okay, well, so the earliest instance here, 2001, but let's, let's go 2003, maybe when, like, in the ramp up to the release, and I remember opening up the site, and this will be a trip if I can see it. Van Helsing, or maybe it is Van Helsing movie, actually. It was also Adventure Lives Forever, but hold on. See, I see this big spike in 2004, so maybe they bought the domain. Easy. And so then it'll be at the very end. VanHelsing.net. Okay, cool. Yeah, it's my little trick for finding out older sites. And it's interesting to see a major movie, .net, but, and folks, don't worry, we'll be looping into some SE 2021. Obviously it's not there anymore, but let's go December 2003. So I think, yeah, there you go, the black, ooh, and you just get excited, so that's been me also with the Dune material we've been seeing. I always think of the official site as like the home of the thing, and so then everything else is the offshoot or the tributary kind of outlets, so just waiting for one of the versions to pop up, hopefully, so that you can see what I mean. Shall we risk it and go into October 2004? Once again, the policy with people maybe tuning in for the first time is like, wow, immediately into a Van Helsing tangent, huh? And I don't have to qualify, I guess, repeatedly, but it's like my adage is same one from Jontron, which is Albert has interests and he'll discuss them. He says Jontron has interests and he will discuss them, with the was it the architecture episode that he had. And I've really reacquainted myself with podcasting as something relaxing to do and not as an obligation, and something additive, and you can just see across the span of like the last episode, I just started in a certain mood, and just because there is this chronicle occurring and this deepening of appreciation and like populating of previously foggy or just non-existent corners of my understanding of the subject matter, that over the course of the recording it feels like something like a gift I've given myself, and hopefully if you are tuning in, which is the optional part because I'd be doing this anyway, but for those who have expressed that they've enjoyed what I do, it's my hope that it feels that you've had a positive experience from engaging with my material that I make as a byproduct of my relationship and engagement with art and entertainment. So hopefully we can just get a snapshot. And how, I don't know if it'll become infamous, but on the last episode I went on a bit of an architecture bend, and I desperately wanted to, give me the name of this particular architectural feature. We found it eventually. It's a hammer beam ceiling pendant. So it's at the end of a hammer beam ceiling, there's these little struts that sort of hang there. That's called a hammer beam ceiling pendant. And so for this, it's just Albert is on a quest, and I think that we would have had a very, very interesting alternate timeline of Van Helsing trilogy, potentially, if people hadn't gotten so, I don't know, nitpicky. I swear, like, if I really think about it, what I'm hoping is, and this loops back to Ghostbusters, is that the gratitude, not that the film has to be inferior or can get away with being inferior because most people are just coming to the cinemas out of gratitude, but I feel like both filmmakers and film goers are going to be experiencing this new feeling, I think, this new feeling of putting more effort into both sides, you know, and because they'll have missed it. They'll have been like, well, you know, I took for granted that I could just go to the film set or go into the office or go into the studio, but they can't do that anymore. And I think people coming back to things is going to engender a lot of positivity. At least I hope so. VanHelsing.net, but also, so here's the key. I think there was another site, folks. Van Helsing poster. And then depending on how I feel like editing this one, I'll either pop the Van Helsing tangent at the very end. No, VanHelsing.net. That's VanHelsing.net pretty much everywhere. Yeah, wow. But it's black, so that kind of gives me the hint that maybe something is struggling to populate. It was a Flash-based site, though. So maybe all we'll be able to do, folks, is maybe have a look at a little glimpse of what the site used to be using our fancy quote searching. Yeah, it was, yeah, here we go. So this was the silhouette, that the one name they all fear, right? So, amazing. And it's important that I bring up the you know, at least I think it's important to bring up, like how I would bring up with Breath of the Wild, I would bring up how I am having like an Ocarina of Time moment, is that something that I consider very special. No, I was about to say miraculous, but no, just special, is how something in the modern time can conjure and feel like it comes from the same place and is maybe hitting the same emotional places in you as something from the past. And for me, the kind of hype that's slowly building for Ghostbusters Afterlife absolutely evokes, like, you know, the Van Helsings, and I feel as though, just respectfully, with all respect to Van Helsing, I think Ghostbusters Afterlife is going to have an afterlife. So fun. Okay, well, you know, shall we wing it? Let's just 2008, come on, that would be nice. I mean, here's the thing, sometimes Safari can be a bit Safari, you know, so we'll just give Google Chrome a go. Google Chrome is so eager every time I bring it up. It's like, really you're playing with me? It's like, I'm good Google, I just need to borrow you. And I don't subscribe to the Chrome is better than everything. I just think it's the more that's done, you know, Willy Wonka style, like software and hardware integrating, the better. So let's go. Hopefully that'll just pop up as is and I don't have to do anything else. There you go. Nothing more heartbreaking than that. Adobe Flash Player no longer supported, which means that the whole site was Flash. So that's, I guess, really sad. That is really sad. I've taken some screen captures in my archives long ago, so there's a little cautionary tale, folks, right there. Maybe I'll have edited this a bit quicker, but yeah. So to add, so that again maybe throws into more relief or sharpens my point even further, which is show these things love. And I know that Flash is something that, you know, was going to die out anyway, but the subtext there is that it's something that when we didn't pay enough attention to it, it faded away. Because again, there are other timelines where like Flash got super refined and then super integrated, and, you know, yeah, that's all the different timelines. And looping back to Ghostbusters timelines, you know, I hope we are in the timeline where, first of all, where maybe at the end of Ghostbusters Afterlife, there's a post-credit sequence that's been talked about, and I would love for that to be something that alluded to the fusing of different universes. I think that would be cool. Yeah, just to kind of show a nod of respect to answer the call. I know I'm coming into, just like how I'm coming into Dune off of Villeneuve, but I've been diving into some of the other material. You know, I would look at sometimes like the wiki and stuff, but I think there's a bit of a consistent pattern with me, which is that I had a distant in the past relationship with a certain kind of material, and then I would fade out of consciousness of it, and then only recently I've started to really be engaged and interested in deepening my knowledge and being like, oh yeah, I do remember seeing, you know, VHS standees potentially, or maybe seeing it, renting. I think in some distant memory we probably rented the original Ghostbusters, you know, on VHS, and obviously it was terrifying. Like I had very, very few positive memories in terms of like it being, you know, anything other than scary, right? So anyway, because I like to go topic by topic, so to tie off the subject of the official site, there's an art to it. Down the line, I could see myself diving into the official side of like Dune just before that one gets shut down. And I think even the God of War site, just to show you how these things like actually disappear. When you used to go to God of War, right, there used to be this big interactive site, and I screen captured and screen recorded the heck out of it. And now it's this sort of simple product page. But before, you could like go into, yeah, is this it? Listen, see, even that, like I thought that was like an archived version, but they simply, it's just gone now, right? And there was something similar with the Order 1886, right, where you could like draw a pinboard and like go around London, and it would be like a map of London, and it would be interactive, and you could drop a pin, and then there would be featurettes that would come up. I just think it's such a creative use of the internet, and maybe it makes me old sounding, but I just hope that we continue to have the official site of something like .com, which, look at this little browser, like that's existed since the beginning of the internet, like that little browser field. There are certain things that I like, that solace. Maybe it's the idea of maybe things like changing a whole bunch recently, that I kind of don't want certain things to change. I want to believe that certain things are just there, like we always have to breathe oxygen to, like, but that'll never change. Like we won't, not in my lifetime will like humanity evolve to not need oxygen anymore, and I can kind of sleep at night or just not even think about the fact that it's like, yeah, that's one of the known quantities, because so much is up in the air nowadays. So I'm just cherishing the known quantities a lot. So 1 second. I know that I can mute this, so I'm gonna try. Okay, back online. Yep, okay, cool. So immediately when we think about Ghostbusters Afterlife, the aesthetic choice, moving away from the city, moving away from this sort of darker palette, you know, it's interesting. So Answer the Call had a poppier palette. It was in the city, but then every like saturation turned up, but here, and so that it was like an artificially generated brightness, whereas this is like they literally went to a brighter setting. Like you can see these, I believe they're barley fields. I initially thought they were wheat fields, but from Ivan Reitman's breakdown, which we're going to look at as well, it's actually barley, and my name's Albert. I've heard that like this region, it's not set in Canada, this is Oklahoma, but I've heard of like how Alberta, like my namesake province in Canada, is like full of fields. And one day, just as a little tangent, I would love to visit, some of these places, down the line. Maria and I have riffed about a trip next year, fingers crossed, New York, Avatar 2, but I digress. So immediately when you come to the site, I had been visiting it here and there. I think I visited it since, but maybe about 6 months ago. I noticed it was, again, very just like that God of War site that I just brought you to. It was like a product site. It was just a lot of Ghostbusters, the rug, Ghostbusters, Slimer plushies or whatever. And it was like, okay, well, I guess it's a hub of some kind, and it just had this feeling of just being, I guess a bunch of products, But when it relaunched like this, as we start to ramp things up, and I start to see this, the refreshingly grounded approach of this film, refreshingly back to basics, but not in a gimmicky way, and I mean this as a positive, like a lower budget, I think the art of strategically using a lower budget than what we see in many cases, with the exception of maybe like the James Camerons of the world, is a lost art, and I would love to see it return. I really would. And it's what we're seeing here. And I was talking with you love him. It's Brendan from a few of the episodes I've done. He was talking about how like Star Wars' ultimate like fulfillment was to end up on TV, like those films, the original trilogy, which is what Star Wars is for me, 77 to 83. Those films in some senses, they had the budgets of like some TV episodes, like nowadays. Like I guess adjusted for inflation, that'd be different. But they had it was lower, just cash to draw, whatever. Like it was a lower cost, and it brought out this ingenuity, and it brought out a filmic groundedness aesthetically, which is all something that again, I've always thought it was curious how they didn't use that technique of slapdash, which like cobbled together, which really worked for these films. And I know that recently I was watching a documentary about, I think it was The Matrix, potentially, or maybe Star Wars, but it was a modern film, and he was talking about how, and my approach with this is literally to just grab a World War II kit and just sort of start throwing stuff together, and that made me really happy, because and it isn't like an old person curmudgeon thing. I just think it's, it's nice to kind of flirt with new technologies, and I think David Fincher made really great use of CG subtly. I'm trying to think of certain films that implemented CG in a very non-invasive way. It's like CG has done wonders for like removing wires and extending landscapes, like stuff that you wouldn't even think it was CG really. But by and large, I think that we've taken a bit of a step back into the physical, VFX versus SFX. So moving back into that SFX paradigm, and that's exemplified by what I hope is ends up being a muncher animatronic, which would be lovely. So this site, a beautiful, comprehensive site, which I'm really loving, and I'm really loving the resurgence. If you just go Ghostbusters Afterlife, you just go Google images, and obviously we can just turn the night eye back on. Yeah, perfect. Still typing around my Elgato mic here, because I'm still waiting for the desk to arrive with the swinging arm for the mic. So yeah, let's go to, we could do Bing. Bing is better for image searches. It really is, but it doesn't necessarily bring up the latest. So maybe let's just, is there a viewing? There's no sort of large viewing style that Bing has, is there? Which, okay, we have to go Bing, because I'll tell you what, like, first of all, not only you get higher resolution with Bing, it's not good for, like, Bing isn't very good for, like, most things. It's I don't use it for anything else other than, like, amazing image. And see how they have a strange thing of, like, not having the latest images? So what we can do is we can go date, and we'll just go past month. So hopefully that'll bring up some of the latest stuff. The latest poster would be great. Last week. Excellent, fantastic, and brilliant. See what okay, I vanished, but I thought there was one extra size we could go, but that's fine. Yeah, we won't go full screen yet, but that is cool to do full screen. So, and that lets me go side by side. Excellent. Just because I would love for everyone watching to have just the best, and then myself, like that's the first thing that came to mind, is like it would be great for all of these images to be really high resolution. That would be great. Maybe large. Medium. Alright, at that point we just go all. See what I mean? It's not the best, but I just like that gallery view. Weirdly non-responsive. Okay. So, if I remember them all, Celeste, Paul, Finn, Logan, and McKenna. Podcast is an interesting name for that character, isn't it? I'm sure that'll actually get brought up in the film itself. I'm assuming it's because he listens to a lot of podcasts, or maybe creates them. And I would have a particular kick I would get a particular kick out of if he has a podcast, like just how Millie Bobby Brown had her podcast in Godzilla, or would listen to one at least. So that would be interesting to see how that element of podcasting comes in. That's interesting. McKenna, Egon. It's when we see the trailer later, you'll see there's certain very specific mannerisms like she has nailed down, for sure. So that's just makes me happy. And Egon's my favorite of the group, I suppose, if we're going to do favorites. Ray's great, but I just like Egon's like true outsider nerd, like to the point of being, I don't know, like social adjustment behavior disorder. I think I was diagnosed with that out of my army incident, and I just that at oddness with things, but then he's also very like loyal and brave, which is great. And we're gonna also, this is I will say, I'll give warning, not a full-blown 100% guarantee, something might slip out, so just saying, if you're wanting to maybe just go in completely spoiler-less with all of this sort of stuff, it's, I would say maybe just proceed cautiously, I guess. So Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson, and Dan Aykroyd confirmed to appear in this film as their own characters. You know, Jason hasn't confirmed it. I think he's still. It's very endearing. It's very 80s and 90s. Like, there's still an element of him operating with the understanding that there haven't been any leaks, or that, like, don't pay attention to the leaks, which, you know, I haven't gone, like, intentionally crazily seeking them the way that I did with, like, maybe the Star Wars, you know, that I did for a time, which I'm just not doing that anymore. I'd rather do what I'm doing now, in terms of the art and entertainment engagement, which, yeah, I just don't think I'm following that many subreddits that closely as I was, and, like, being that, you know, keyed in. So there's still some mysteries to this film. So also I do love is it the RTV, the remote vehicle trap RTV? Yeah, I love that. And this is just a great shot. It's just introducing some of these silhouettes. So you obviously have something here like kind of evokes Rey's silhouette. I love the PK meter there. I think that might be Carrie Coon's character, because I don't recognize. Yeah, Paul. I think it would be Carrie Coon, because we have her carrying her grandfather's, you know, device there. Father's device or grandfather? No, I think. I think father's. Yeah. And then sort of that image framing of the two adults. I think that's how that makes sense. So that's basically Carrie. I love this poster, and you know, think of the original poster, folks. Like, this is something that, okay, I'm just going to put it out there. Like, this is something that I could see maybe a movie 10 years, 15 years from now, like a kid having this poster on, us having this poster up in their room, if we even still do, you know, the blue tacked poster thing. But it's got its own iconic vibe. And, you know, a little face here, I kind of like that. That's nice. Who knows? I'm squinting, I'm seeing if I can see anything. Part of my brain wants to see a muncher there, but I don't know. There's a bit of sort of a wideness there, and like those could be two arms. But who knows the subtle things that some of these poster designers choose to do. So I love the exclusively in movie theaters. That's wonderful. I love that we're rallying to that, you know? We really are. And it's, there's Stay Puft right there, marshmallows. Yeah. Somerville. Sumeria. That's my, you know, if you go to the Instagram, I've put that out there in terms of a theory. Yeah. So I think we might have to jump onto Google. Sorry, just to get the latest images, you know? It's just, yeah, Bing isn't the best. So I also hope you're enjoying the music in the background. When I'm proof listening to this one later or editing, that'll be nice to listen to. I love Elma's score. Look at this, the art and making of the movie. So we're going to witness something live happening now, folks. I am a big art book collector. I've really stripped down everything, and all I do is collect the art books. First of all, I'm that guy. I'm just saving every single image. So this is going to be fun. Amazon United States, the United Kingdom. Let's go. Boom. I hope it's not run out. That would suck if it. Yep. Great. We're good to go. And that's hardcover. Excellent. Let's go. Maybe I'll cut. Who knows if I'm just pre-ordering. So beautiful. This is what I was looking for. Excellent. We'll read the synopsis after we've gotten everything underway. Look right here, folks. I don't think any like cray personal information has popped up or whatever, but General Mills Ghostbusters cereal. Oh, it's stuck right now. It's stuck somewhere, I think in Melbourne, or track package. We'll do that later, but it makes me sad because I'm really looking forward to that coming in, and I think it's even run out. You actually can't pick it up anymore. Oh, you can? Sell? Buy? Is beyond the ship is the coverage for this item, see? Boom. Okay, there is an add to cart, but anyway, we'll talk about it later. So that one's now added, which makes me very happy. Wonderful. So what we'll do is we'll go to the Amazon. I know I just like to read from the page itself. Here we go. Right. In Ghostbusters Afterlife, the art and making of the movie, author Ozzy Inguanzo provides a comprehensive look at the making of the next chapter in the original Ghostbusters universe. When a single mom and her two kids arrive in the small town of Somerville, they begin to discover their connection to the original Ghostbusters and the secret legacy their grandfather left behind. This lavish hardback explores the creative spirit and remarkable legacy behind the film, providing in-depth insider access to its development and production. Experience the journey from script to screen through an extensive collection of behind-the-scenes images and designs, including concept art, storyboards, sketches, and models, showcasing the unique process of capturing the spirit of the original film through new and iconic visuals, creatures, costumes, props, and one of the most beloved vehicles in cinema history. Accompanying hundreds of stunning images are exclusive insights from key creatives including writer-director Jason Reitman, producer Ivan Reitman, the production designer, cinematographer, costume designer, visual effects designer, and the special makeup and live-action creature effects designer. Amazing title. I'm going to read that again. Wow. The special makeup and live-action creature effects designer, making it the ultimate movie companion for fans and film lovers alike. And see now the smile widens. There's going to be something in this film, which first of all, my love of this film and my love of Ghostbusters has actually been, if anything, like signal boosted. Think of it as, to use a Ghostbusters analogy, it's like the thing that Spook Central does to like the etheric or paranormal energies. Sort of the signal boost to this is Game Over Greggy and his amazing passion for Ghostbusters. He's the highest profile, I believe, Ghostbusters aficionado that we have there. That's interesting that it would only populate this many here, but as you can see, for the longest time, right here, boom, 1 and 2. They had, for the longest time in their studio, this painting of the 4 original members before Colin departed, of the Ghostbusters, kind of funny, and so I'm I guess we could say over a decade, maybe even 2 decades removed from like my first sort of brush with Ghostbusters in the 90s in the VHS store, Even the memory of like walking down the VHS, aisles and seeing certain VHS covers, like you would just be like, oh, there's Ghostbusters and there's Ghostbusters too. But again, generally, Ghostbusters would be the one that jumps to mind. And by the way, just to quickly say about Ghostbusters 2, I absolutely love that film. It's fun. It's got a different texture to it. It's my favorite is the original, but I just like 2 is I don't know if there's been sometimes certain films are selected by the collective consciousness of the collective public consciousness to just bear some kind of weird burden that's like, because the original was so successful that it, like, the same creatives had to be dealt some kind of like humbling blow or chastising blow, because I would obviously have I think the goop packs don't look the best. I think the fact that they get their and the presence of slime, I think, like so much slime, I'm sure it appealed to like some of the early 90s kind of kids, but like slime is best when it is a garnish, so there's a lot of slime and goop and stuff, but no, I enjoyed it. I watched it recently, like Bill Murray's funny, Egon is weird, Ray is endearing, and Ernie's rad as always. So it's a good film. So I don't know what to tell people. And but there's no doubt that this is something I talked about on episode 1, which I can't place it for the main show. I apologize, but I would maybe say 289 or something like that. We'll see if I'm correct. I talked about how Ghostbusters is still now, which I am seeing every sign that this is finally about to change, Ghostbusters hasn't really stepped fully into its like potential. And that I used in the last episode to exemplify that. I used the first line, which we may as well now with this new setup, we'll bring it up and I'll highlight it nice and big for people. Ghostbusters Wikipedia, just in case people might not believe me. If you go to the Ghostbusters Wikipedia page, at the very beginning, there's a line. If you go Belushi, okay, Battling City, boom, adventure through time and space, otherwise known as interdimensional travel, like the interdimensional Crossrip. Here we go. So based on his own fascination with spirituality, Aykroyd conceived Ghostbusters as a project starring himself and John Belushi, in which they would adventure through time and space, battling supernatural threats. So I cannot emphasize enough how much this is like I just feel like, all right, I'm just gonna leave this here. Boom. Okay, we're just gonna, yeah, because it's just so often overlooked in a very similar way to how Wizarding World is just a little bit shy about going beyond, the UK in terms of a setting. I think it's just, Ghostbusters has been so tied with New York, and that's fine. Like, that's, even, and I've reworked the pitch a bit of interdimensional. If you just go instagram.com/Ghostbusters podcast. I put this one together maybe a couple of weeks ago, and let's go over it. So excuse me. May as well log in on the main one. Excellent. And if people have been seeing the countdowns I like putting together, I hope you've been enjoying these ones here. So, based on Control, God of War, and Red Dead 2. Okay. Beautiful. So this is the press release I released, so I may as well, if you haven't seen it. So, Ghostbusters Interdimensional, an open dimension next-gen RPG based on Aykroyd and Belushi's original 1981 concept for Ghostbusters, where the protagonist would travel through time and space to combat a host of demonic and supernatural threats. So in the background, you have some beautiful artwork by Jin Hakwan Art, so artist credit number 1, but they do look like, strange slurs and all this kind of strange stuff, which we're going to go into when we talk about this project. It's similar to the one I've put together for Monsterverse, of like a Kong RPG where it's just Kong Hollow Earth, and it's just him traversing this amazing space of the Hollow Earth, which lends itself so well to a different kind of platformer as Kong, where you've got that anti-gravity element, so you can really get some interesting, huge universe sort of platforming on, and then because of the power of next gen, use the same assets of the films, for the CG. But that's kind of what I'm talking about. And part of my talk that I'll be giving actually in a few days, Patterns, Podcasts, and Parables, Evolving Humanity Through Interactive Art, is going to be about how we need to really start evolving our notions of what a game can be. And even though Arkham sort of slightly wedged the door open with the idea of an adjacent project coming out close to when the Nolan movies, the Nolan films were coming out, that's cool, like Arkham. And look, and frankly, no, I will use it as a full-blown example, because look at what it did. It created its own Arkham likes basically now. So excuse me, and Arkham likes. And if I'm being honest, the talk, which you'll see if you tune in on the YouTube, it's just Australian Centre for the Moving Image, ACME, but it's through Melbourne International Games Week. I'll be talking about how we want to avoid two timelines. We want to avoid the nightmare timeline where we're not doing interesting things anymore, and we want to avoid the boring timeline where we are just keep on doing what we're doing and not really evolving. And what I would love to see is in some way, whether I'm part of it or not, for stuff like this to not get, I guess I would say probably unconditionally mostly downvoted is, and I call that the strange Stockholm Syndrome effect of not wanting to breach out of what is known and what is. So there's a wounded mentality when it comes to looking at subjects like this. They're like, oh, no, it just couldn't happen, and I don't know, and it's just doubt immediately. And then it's like, well, then how can you blame? You have no one else to blame for this thing not existing but yourself, right? And what we're seeing, though, is I believe this big upsurge in post-COVID unjadedness and positivity and appreciation. I could see this actually being considered, so we'll go into it. Right, so Gemini's very first idea for Ghostbusters was much, much bigger, traveling time and space, busting all kinds of interdimensional nasty. So that's roughly, it's not a direct quote, but it's roughly what Dan Aykroyd has alluded to in the past. At least from that Wikipedia article. So, press release. Welcome to the Astral Nexus, a Ghostbusters' easiest way of getting around the entire cosmos, busting every spectre or spook that needs it. Created by Stance Labs, this extraordinary research station, located simultaneously in GBHQ's NYC basement and in the space between every possible dimension in existence, is your portal to the 5 ravaged realms. Open worlds bursting with hidden lore, unique NPCs, and of course ghosts to bust. The Voltrini capital, the Slore homeworld, the Torg arch spires, the Mechatrex temples, and the Gozerian depths. As a newly initiated member of Stance's team, you'll join Stance's daughter Linda, Chloe Grace Moretz, just a pitch, for the idea, Phoebe Spengler, McKenna Graceful of Ghostbusters Afterlife, and the eccentric Professor Archie Luntz, which is just, I liked, there's a very interesting quality to Ghostbusters, like traditional last names, like Venkman and Zeddemore, Spengler, right, Venkman, they just have an interesting quality to them, and so Luntz kind of came to me, and I was like, Archie, it's like, and that's sort of folksy kind of thing. So, and I think he would be perfect for it. I mean, he would be so perfect. I mean, this thing directed by Cory Barlog, starring a motion captured game over Greggy, getting his full blown acting on. Come on, let's just. Whew. We're gonna dive into Greggy's kinship with Ghostbusters soon, anyway. But on our big journey across all of this material. Okay, so. Join them all as the crew are given their biggest gig yet, ensuring the cosmos itself isn't torn asunder by mysterious, nefarious forces of interdimensional evil. Discover the secrets, close the Nexus rifts, upgrade your gear, and most of all, get out there and bust some ghosts. A Ghostbusters game pitched by myself. Right? So, I mean, and then, okay, you just see here, and it's like, these people are great, kindred people who chimed in with likes, and shouts out to all of you, Danny Tvak, 313 Ghostbusters, Parisi 1998. So it's nice to see even the faintest amount of this spreading, proton buildings, shout out to you, and that's my hope, is that we start seeing from Afterlife onwards. That's what's the story itself is going to be, I just think, this beautiful. I mean, look at the field imagery, right? If you go to the site, that it's like planting a whole new field of possibility, like planting seeds that will then grow into something that we can then harvest again. There is a very much a reboot quill kind of quality, more in the sense of, I believe, a brand new story that's going to be told, even though we've seen some common elements. But the purpose of this will be to, I think there's been some comparisons to what the Force Awakens trailer did, and it certainly has a feel like the Ecto-1 being the Millennium Falcon. So there's a vibe to it of then how it's sort of careening, and there's a vibe to that. And if I think maybe people have brought up both trailers, maybe it seems like something that people would do. And one thing I could try and do is have both simultaneously going, so I can be that guy. So let's have some fun. And that'll sort of lead us into talking about the trailers anyway as well. Ghostbusters Afterlife. There we go. So this is, I believe, the main trailer. That's the first one. That's right, 10th of December 2019. Right when stuff was about to happen. I think, as I said, there will be an upsurge in true gratitude for films. I really, really think there will be. And art and entertainment in general, and then just going out, to the cinema, definitely. So, looking forward to my little mic stand thing coming, so I can do things a bit quicker. The Force Awakens trailer. Here we go. So 5 years and then 1 year ago. So we're going to bring them up one for one. T this, T that. And hopefully I can layer them on top of each other in a way that looks nice-ish and is possible. Okay. And 3, 2. Let's keep the audio for obviously Ghostbusters up and mute the audio for this one. Okay, boom, that one's playing, and now this one's
What are you doing here in Somerville anyway?
Honestly, my mom won't say it.
Let's pause it and let it get started.
We're completely broke. And the only thing that's left in our name is this creepy old farmhouse our grandfather left us.
Creepy old, so we have the old decrepit.
Why'd you bring me up here?
Entertainment value?
It's similar. The logo's coming up.
Somehow, a town that isn't anywhere near a tectonic plate, that has no fault lines, no fracking, no loud music,
introduction of the conflict,
is shaking on a daily basis.
Under the dining table now! Hey, remember that one summer we died under a table?
I found this in my living room.
Whoa, killer replica.
A replica of what?
A ghost trap? There hasn't been a ghost sighting in 30 years.
Mancha.
New York in the 80s? It's like The Walking Dead. Your dad never mentioned this to you?
And see, again,
It's just my mom.
timed with the two characters talking about the past. Like,
My grandfather died. My mom says we're just here to pick through the rubble of his life.
Wait a minute. Who are you?
there actually is a Who Are You in I think both trailers, yeah.
Call it fate. Call it luck. Call it karma. I believe that everything happens for a reason.
I love that.
Come on, darling.
Beautiful. So a little bit longer than the Force Awakens one. Is this Chewie we're home?
It has a gunner seat?
Okay. But already you can already see what I was talking about, so beautiful. And what I comfort myself with believing is that as we go along with all these films, is that there's hopefully people from all the different teams looking at what each team has done, and I have a hope in my heart that the Ghostbusters, the Matrix, the Dune teams have seen what went wrong with the Star Wars stuff, which, if I were to summarize, it's just excellent performances, a plot with much to be desired, and so much more iteration that was needed. They shot undeveloped temp script kind of level material with such great performers, but that's another I digress moment. So the Nexus, as I was talking about, that I love that phrase. I think hopefully with this, I hope okay, let's just manifest it, all three. So a beautiful Dune RPG, Horizon Zero Dune, Horizon Zero Ghostbusters, and Horizon Zero Matrix. Like, it would be wonderful to see this explosion of this particular format of storytelling, which I think with God of War we've seen. God of War was like regularly trending. There was Matrix 4 and then there was God of War, Matrix Resurrections, and God of War just high-fiving each other in that trending tab, which made me so happy. But it goes to show that certain things that resonate with people, and I think what that speaks to in trending is, like it or not, it's a bit of a universal indicator, and Matrix has a lot of pertinent messages, and God of War, it got into that, what I still am so grateful that we're in the timeline where God of War did exceptionally well, critically and commercially. And I want to be humble, but I have a strong feeling that Ghostbusters Afterlife is going to herald this awakening of the potential of Ghostbusters, the premise, which I believe does lie beyond New York, which we're seeing, obviously, and it does lie beyond Earth. I would love to see... you even have the Stranger Things connection there with Finn, of maybe an upside down thing where we're going into just different visuals, and we're just seeing, I just love the idea of this task force, that humanity had this idea, and then very similar to Men in Black almost, that there's a refugee situation in Men in Black where it's like certain species around the galaxy know that, oh, the humans, you can go to them, like that's a safe place and they can help you. So I would love for certain, entities to like visit the Ghostbusters and say, hey, our home world or our home dimension needs help, and for interesting kind of almost Indiana Jonesy kind of stuff happening. Like I would love to see a stripped down Indiana Jones kind of style Ghostbuster of like, okay, so we're out in the field, basically, like we're in the Mechatrex temples, as I said in the pitch, and what would that look like? It'd be Indiana Jones meets Ghostbusters, and you're going into these complexes and you're busting ghosts, you're like taking them back to this nexus, so I have no, believe me, I have no illusions. Like this film, I for example, I love planes, trains, and automobiles, and I look forward to watching it. Hopefully all goes well with this year for people to come over, but it's like a Christmas movie for me. I love it. And John Candy was in the running for I believe it was Ray Stantz, or no, Venkman. No, excuse me, it was not. It was for Louis Tully. My apologies. And Rick Moranis jumped in there. We have the Shrunk podcast too, in anticipation of Moranis' wonderful return. I believe Moranis might appear in this one because I just think maybe he may have even just been checking his phone between setups or something, Jason Reitman, and he just saw Rick Moranis has returned to acting. I swear I would not put it past Jason to have just stopped right then and there. It's like, excuse me, if Rick Moranis is back for Shrunk, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids with Josh Gad, like we need to get him at least for one scene. Like I don't care, he's back in. If he's back in, you're back in, so I would love to believe. And I think the film has been screened. People have been very good to not leak the big stuff. And let's have a look at when Australia gets it. Going on all the tangents here. Hoyts. Let's see if I can get it all in one. I'm a big fan of the space bar, as in the browser bar searching. So Ghostbusters. And I believe Hoyts do underscores. No, they do dashes. Afterlife. Sure. You can know where I live. People know. It's fine. Alright, just Ghostbusters on its own then. Damn it. Okay, well, I tried. I usually get it. Maybe I'm not adding a certain element of the URL. Scope. Ghostbusters Geo host. There we go. 1st of January, just like Dune. Oh, sorry, just like Matrix Resurrections. January 1st here in Australia. Okay. And Clifford. I'm looking forward to Clifford as well. Clifford the Big Red Dog. Part of my research search or research entertainment for a book that I'm writing called Steed, The Epic Mounts of Fantasy and Myth. Just looking at all of the, Atreyu and Artax, Gandalf, Shadowfax, Aang and Appa, like those really wonderful relationships between like the loyal steed and or a boy and his beast, that kind of thing. Trico. The inspiration, frankly, came from Trico and the boy from the Ueda story, The Last Guardian. But yeah, I think actually with Neverending Story, it's probably more like Atreyu and Falcor, or maybe Bastion and Falcor. They'll both be in there. But and I like the Fathiers from. Believe it or not, I do like one thing of the Last Jedi, and I think the name they should have kept it Falthier. I think that was an in progress one with the L in there, because Fathier is just like so close to father, and that's like I am your father. It's like. Nomenclature wise, like Last Jedi was just not good. Crate dragon, like repeating the word Jedi. The Secrets of Dumbledore, though, see how like there's the most of that title is new. So Dumbledore, right? Like that's the main kind of, and it's the bigger word. So just that idea of reusing the word secrets again, it's like I don't mind that so much. But The Last Jedi, it's just like Return of the Jedi, The Last Jedi. It's like, anyway, that's another little digression. Ghostbusters Afterlife. Yeah, see, it's all there already. Boom. Okay, so it's an open secret. Boom. And Gil Kanan. Let's have a look at Gil Kanan, writer. Well done, buddy. British Israeli American film director. Shouts out to you. Doing your thing on Twitter. Love this poster so much. A Boy Called Christmas. Interesting. So a bit of a Christmas story, like come early kind of thing. I can vibe with that. I mean, that seems very charming. Wow, that's very nice. Okay. Makes me think of what the eventual Narnia stuff will look like, you know. Is that... Ooh, that's very similar to... give me that poltergeist vibe. Okay, so Gil Keenan is a kindred dude. I enjoy this human being. He's rad. Thou Art Dead was the original coin-op arcade game that we created for Skull, Joan Heder, to play in the pizza place. Simeon spent months designing every sprite in the game, and we eventually got a fully playable version of the game on the THQ MH game for GameCube, so... Excellent. Oh, yeah, he's rad. So, brother from another mother, kind of like cut from the same cloth kind of dude. I love him. So I feel very... Yeah, look at this guy. Like, this guy co-wrote the new Ghostbusters. Shouts out to you, Gil. I will follow you, and I don't use Twitter very much, but I will. That's weird that there isn't just the login option. Okay. Alright, see that when it gets... don't worry, I'll follow him. Shouts out to you. You're rad. Okay, I'm digging that. Very much so. Now I'm just... Okay. Login, there you go. Oh my god, why you like this? This is so weird. Where the heck is passwords? Like how it just used to come up. Anyway, apologies folks. Really? Seriously? You know why I'm doing this is because I know that other stuff will come up. But yeah, I just wanted to give him that follow. Excellent. Okay. In our lovely little kind of forest of tangents, we've been making our way through, I guess, the site where we're starting to right now, at least. So you can watch some videos, download the app, which I did. I had a look at it. It's interesting. Official YouTube channel, which has been killing it, I will say, with all the official. Let's just talk about. I guess I have to bring up Greg for this because I remember it's just interwoven with we do the kind of funny community podcast as well, or I do it, and yeah. So let's just go Instagram.com GameOverGreedy. And let's kind of spam some of his posts with some likes. So this man he's in that space of like that adult space. So he's about to become a dad, and like I understand that we can't just sort of stay in that child space, which I wouldn't want to anyway. But the thing, what I see of this man, and even though like he takes the ribbing of people making fun and blah blah blah. Like he can roll with that. He's very confident in his kinship and appreciation for Ghostbusters, and that inspires me. And the reason that inspires me is there's an interesting thing going on psychologically with Ghostbusters, which there was, I think, a poll or something discussed, or like he got really angry. It was him and Gary or something. And Kevin came into it too. This is all people from the Kind of Funny, and it was like whether or not Ghostbusters, the original, was actually good. And here's the thing about that film. And someone, I think Kevin, I can't remember who it was, but they said like, no, it's not that good. And they said, so why is there this fascination? So I don't believe in the clinging to something from a obsessively fanboyish point of view. I think if you're passionate about something, it should speak to the strength of the material. And the strength of this material, speaking about interdimensionality and stuff, the strength of the Ghostbusters material comes from the fact that despite so many odds, like despite the fact that, I mean, it essentially created its own mini genre in some ways, or at least popularized it, that sort of, that horror comedy kind of thing. Like it really, like that's Ghostbusters is your go-to. So just like how John Williams didn't necessarily invent film scoring, but he's the first name that comes to mind. So for horror comedy, it's Ghostbusters. And people have been like, yeah, later on, they've been like, I wanted to capture a Ghostbusters kind of feel. It's the strength of just the pure gusto and bravado of executing on this idea. And the similar thing that happened with Star Wars, where there was a compromise that happened, like as you could see, and I think my thing with interdimensional, it would still be grounded in its own way. It wouldn't go like full-blown prequels and stuff, but the reason why the original Star Wars worked so well is because there was a melding of two of two things. It was Lucas's creativity and like the conservative, down to earth, realistic. Like, sorry, George, we can't make 3 Death Stars. We actually can only make 1. And that laser sword you were talking about, yeah, here we just grabbed a torch and we just sort of add it, and here you go. And so to this day, George will tell you, it's like, yeah, well, I wasn't really satisfied like at all with that first film because I had to compromise so much. But he doesn't understand, like that was just perfect alchemy. It's like saying, oh, the cake didn't turn out so well because I cracked the eggs. It's like, well, you had to crack the eggs. Like, you had to, like, you know, that's kind of what has to happen. There has to be not even a compromise. It's just, I think that alchemy is necessary. And Ghostbusters had the same thing with the interdimensional aspect, you know, being grounded by, you know, Ivan took a look at it when Dan Aykroyd brought it to him, and he said, look, let's just strip this down. And in that stripped down version, you know, believe me, I would look at some of these crews like crewing up. It's like, you know, the like the fan, like the community stuff. And I would say, wow, that's a lot of devotion to the one film. But I mean, I've gone back to it multiple times, and that's not a monkey see, monkey do thing. Like, qualitatively, objectively, that film is so cozy to revisit. There's like Dana bringing in her groceries, and first of all, Dana's apartment's incredible. It's like the coziest thing ever. Just that wholesomeness of like a bunch of friends going into business together. I think it's shaped a lot of this man's approach to business. Even like, he, you know, this idea of the 4 central figures, which is him, Andy, Nick, and Tim, parallels the idea of the 4 central Ghostbusters. And then you'll just see, if you go all throughout, there's a vibe to him. Like, he just is a Ghostbuster, like in every. And again, Jason talked about in the commentary, you know, the IGN one, that, you know, Ghostbusters is about people who you wouldn't necessarily look at and be like, that's a superhero or whatever. Even though Greg, as we all know, is shirtless Spider-Man. He is more superhero than many of us will ever be. But yeah, I think there's also, even, yeah, I will say, like, there's a really cozy moment in Ghostbusters 2 where Dana, like the baby, has been like threatened, and it's like they get the hell out of there. They go to Bill Murray's house, or Venkman's house, and it's the coziest damn place. It's like, and he's like, do not worry, you're all safe here, just chill out here and nothing's gonna happen. And so I think, for just like a bit with Star Wars, it's like maybe there's a fatherhood thing there. It's like, I just like seeing, you know, like, he's cheeky, but he seems like he'd be a really good dad. And I would love for Afterlife to kind of maybe sort of show some of the children of some of these people, and like to see like Venkman and Dana having gotten together. I mean, that would just be right there. You have Greg crying, you have me tearing up, or just getting emotional, you know. Just that idea of, you know, Dana and we're gonna see, you know, I say inshallah because, you know, Ray's given me this beautiful word from, you know, Arabic Bangla word. Inshallah means like, I hope it happens. Is with Jurassic World Dominion, that we know that Laura Dern and Sam Neill, just having them be together, they will literally be like the caked on layers of jadedness that have come in this, like with the adult life thing. Again, I don't believe in, I love being an adult, it's fine, but you know, you'll have occasionally a day or two being like, oh man, you know, sometimes. And I don't define myself and like do the whole eye rolly thing of like, why must I adult? It's like, no, it's just only infrequently. But I think with the COVID stuff, it's made people a little bit more stressed, a little bit more wistful of simpler times and stuff. And just to see, just putting those two characters together in a way where it's like, oh yeah, Dana and Bill ended up together. Oh, sorry, Dana and Peter ended up together. So that would be amazing. And who knows, we might see Annie and Rick Moranis, you know, ending up together. Although we still have to see whether or not Annie and Egon ended up together. So that's, like, I get a lot of that excitement, you know. I really understand that, and I'm very excited for people, and just myself excited, you know. So, ooh.
Miller from twitter.com/kindafunnyvid.
Oh, McDonald's. And don't get me started on what I hope they do with McDonald's. Believe me. Here's another thing, folks. The premise of the film coming out and then the merchandise. Believe me, like I lead from artistic integrity. I believe that the art is the commerce. Like, make the art and then everything is totally fine. You should only feel insecure about oh wow, like they're commercializing the crap out of this. If the art isn't good, if the art is just perfect, then even Villeneuve has just been, I think, pretty chill with people like merchandising Dune, because he's just really confident. Like, yeah, I've made my art piece. I didn't compromise. And then, sure, you know, if it signal boosts the film, I won't cheapen it in my eyes. The art stands on its own, and Ghostbusters is very much the same. And it's so important to create from a pure place of authenticity. Like, you know, what was I watching recently which talked about this? Yeah, well, no, it was Oliver Harper, which he does some wonderful stuff on his channel, and I enjoy watching the films as much as I like watching his retrospectives on them. So Ghostbusters, Oliver Harper. There we go, boom. Oh, it's a podcast special now. I want the retrospective. Yeah, I like that he re-uploaded it for visibility. So Oliver, you know, puts these wonderful documentaries together. Yeah, mini ones, like mini sort of, 26 minutes here. There's a scene, I'll actually bring it up on the Instagram. He pointed out that, I made sure to record it because like, I know I want to kind of, yeah, here we go, boom. I'll just play it here. Give me some audio.
Munching on something.
There we go.
You do get the impression Egon likes to snack. Most scenes when he is relaxing, he is munching on something.
Okay,
You do get the impression Egon likes to snack. Most scenes when he is relaxing, he is munching on something. You do get the impression Egon likes to snack. Most scenes when he is relaxing, he is munching on something.
There you go. Right? And like, here's the thing. I'm going to say one more thing about Ghostbusters, man.
You do get the impression Egon likes to snack. Most scenes when he is relaxing, he is munching on something.
You do get it. I'm just gonna like it because I love it. Okay, here it is, and this is maybe I don't know if Greg's tuning in. Whoever of that same cut from that same cloth as Greg and I with this film. And sorry, but like, you have to watch Ghostbusters with snacks. Like, the perfect way to watch Ghostbusters is with like pizza or like Ghostbusters-tastic snacks. Like, you have the element of Slimer there with the munching there. Then you have now Muncher, you know, Greg Turkington. Like, that just, it's a feel-good movie, it's a hangout movie, it's a VHS movie, you know. He just talked about recently, Game of Greg, he talked about his dad on his Instagram. You know, someone was able to be a bit of a Reddit detective and sort of show this moment of going to the video store. And again, it's a, ready, this is what it is. Ghostbusters is a video store ass, you know, film. Makes me so happy. There you go, boom. That's it. And I don't know, oh, that's amazing. Number one crane operator Greg Miller. I love that. Let's see you again. There's lots of positivity here. So I don't know if this is oh, so it's a Comic-Con, yeah. But Nick Scarpino was recently talking about, so it's the reason why I got confused because it has the shared word wizard. So WizVid, you know, was this WizVideos was this place that, you know, we had Blockbusters, we had Video Easy, but we'll just go WizVid, VHS, the WizKid. That's okay. Go listen to that episode. It's one of the recent Game Over Greggies, or sorry, one of the recent Kind of Funny podcasts. And Nick talks about just that experience of, you know, he would get a pizza and that whole thing. I'm probably going to listen to that podcast again. Just, you know, you have to understand, folks, during COVID, there's just a baseline of stress, and I've done some recent stuff like really doing my best to stick true to this health pillar, to like just not completely blow back out. And I'm happy. Every time I see my jawline, I'm like, wow, I'm happy. But part of me is extremely sad because deep down I know that I just want to be fucking eating whatever the fuck I want during this time and like watching Ghostbusters. So has to be said, you know, and at least saying that, putting that into the universe felt good. So we'll loop back in. I was going to do a dedicated thing to Greg, but I think we're just going to have to look at this man. An extremely wholesome dude, and I made a post on Reddit where I was like, Little Buster, I'm just calling him or her, little baby, little Buster, and again, yeah, you know, respect the privacy. Yeah, Greg and Jen, like, congratulations. We're on the outside of that, but insofar as you do share this lovely, lovely thing of the baby, you know, coming, like, it just is inherently, you know, you'll have all kinds of, like, maybe super jaded people or super, like, in their own heads, and I guess, like, maybe, I don't know, depressed or like heavy life stuff. They'll instantly brighten with that idea of, so I don't know, I think there's a subtle thing of just like positivity going on, you know. And yeah, YHS podcast, so great. Shouts out. This is all the stuff that I've cross-posted myself. Turning Instagram into Pinterest. I do enjoy it, I really do. He's rad. And yeah, so basically, shouts out to Game Over Greggy. Go to kindoffunny.com and follow all of Kind of Funny stuff. When I support it or whatever, I heartily recommend what they do over there. It's very, you know, Mega 64, they're my heart, you know, and their cadence of don't give a fuck and whatever is that's my heart. Kind of Funny, do something different. They are so regimented, they're so disciplined, and that's also, I appreciate that also a lot, you know, for sure. So also recently, you know, we had Bill Murray's birthday. That's important. So happy birthday to the ever eclectic, always idiosyncratic and forever himself, Bill Murray, September 21st. That makes me so happy. Yeah, shouts out. He's, okay, Harold Ramis, so favorite person related to Ghostbusters is Bill Murray, because he's a idiosyncraticness elemental. Like, he's his own person, and I vibe with that so hard, and he does only what interests him, and not in an egotistical way. That's just his vibe, you know. So as a person, and I celebrate that, I really do. This is, wow, meta. That's the name of this episode. I'm just looking here. The reason I'm looking here is what I really love is, so it says film and series, live action and animated, right? But what else have we got? We got, you know, again, that meal stuff I was talking about. That's going to be so fun. Like, believe me, I will have a moment as a 33-year-old, because it will be after my birthday. I will have that moment of getting into my car and going to McDonald's and getting a little muncher toy. Like, that'll just be fun. I think Aquaman was out, and it's like, Aquaman similarly had like a kind of cool vibe of like, you know, it's an adventure, and just, I enjoyed it, you know. But here's the thing, compared to something like Van Helsing and Aquaman, yeah, Ghostbusters Afterlife, like, I just, as soon as I say that title, I think of the BIC logo first of all. So BIC, United Artists logo. I think of that. Boom, from the VHS. I think of the BIC. See, that's for the, there was, I remember it was from was it Babar? Was that what it was? No, that's okay. There was another one. It was similar to United Artists, but then I think of Three Caballeros. And the thing is, what I remember is the Three Caballeros had, not Three Caballeros, Three Amigos. Again, that shared element of Steve Martin. There's a couple of films that are part of that group of, like, you just chuck them on, and like, you had 1986, you have 1984 with Ghostbusters, and, you know, it's just feel-good 80s stuff. It just warms my heart, and real deal 80s stuff. You know, we just had the Tadam, the Netflix presentation this morning, and you got Stranger Things there, and that's lovely, but it's good to go to the original stuff. So secondhand, not secondhand, like in any derogatory way, but, you know, 80s adjacent in the form of, you know, 80s tribute is fine, and I can see people really resonating with that. But definitely go see Three Amigos, and then I think we also had a preview. So we had the Three Amigos VHS, and then at the beginning there'd be the pre-film, you know, trailers and stuff, and we also had, I think, TMNT VHS. We also had this one here. Boom, look at that. And, you know, some people are actually getting really, really crafty with, if I go Ghostbusters Afterlife VHS, I bet you there's actually, it's this wonderful community of VHS artists. Yeah, see? Look at that. Already Getting this, look at this, absolutely glorious, look at that, boom. That's what you want. After being evicted from their home, 2 children and their single mother moved to a farm inherited from their late grandfather located in Summerville, Oklahoma. When the town experiences a series of unexplained earthquakes, the children discover their families linked to the original Ghostbusters, who have become something of a myth, as many have long since forgotten about the Manhattan Crossrip of 1984. It's up to the kids to discover the secret legacy that their grandfather left behind. So, tell me that this doesn't just immediately inspire joy. And we're going to take a little meta break. Not like muting or anything, but major reassessments underway for me personally with how I'm going to go about processing certain aspects of my life, certain paths I'm going to take. Certainly I've gotten very existential and self-questioning about the show, the podcast and stuff. But right now I can tell you, the Elden Ring one I recorded and this one is the exact same, and that's the sign to keep going with it. I just think, okay, to all artists out there, it's like you have to enjoy it. It has to, by the end, you have to feel like you gained something from doing something, from creating something, if it's a podcast or a work of like a novel or an art or whatever, or like, and that's so precious. And just to think, the reason why I'm who knows if like latter episodes, I think it's because I'm balancing back out after a lot of inauthenticity. There is, make no mistake, there is a big shift in energy for me compared to some of the older shows. But believe me, I feel so much happier now. Like, this is my actual energy as a human being, which is something you just cannot take for granted. And it's like love and light, but that's the vibe of the show, and it's me, like actually me. And that might be whatever for any, it's just, I say this to you, in fact, I'm just going to pivot and just say, look, if you're doing anything out there, whatever, even if it's like how you show up in your relationship or like how you show up to work as, I guarantee you, I'll just give you an example, even like some of the episodes of like Tara or like other co-hosts, like I've come away from them feeling to some degree that I lost something, that I lost my time, that I lost my comfort zone, and even though much was gained and fun was had and topics were explored, there was always an undercurrent of feeling, like that I was leaving my own, what I actually wanted to do behind. And as crazy, and this is, I'm sure, like a lot of creators are like, surely me being entirely myself cannot on any level work because I have to be like others, or I have to be what people think of me. I have to be people's idea of me. And I've heard that regularly over and over from like people like Game Over Greggy and Kevin Smith and stuff. And they're like, no. They're like, believe me, there are people, there is a fine-tuned community who will like every word that's coming out of your mouth. A good bet is to not be a douche, like I don't think, unless you're weirdly masochistic about like going to certain communities where like the person treats you bad. I think there are some communities like that. I saw a commenter, it's like, I can't remember what they were called, Hunch or something, and their premise of their channel was to hate on other people's channels. Like he would bring up Yong Ye's channel, the analyst, and he's a journalist now, I guess, sort of a self-started journalist, started in the Metal Gear sphere, but then he expanded out, and he just opened Young's channel and just ragged on it. And then whenever someone would donate, I think he even got negative about it, and he would be very rare that you'd get positivity. So anyway, just letting you know, the internet's a weird place, and the earth is a weird place. So if that community can genuinely have someone where it's like, yeah, I like it when you, I guess, are rude to me or whatever, then I can feel pretty safe, solid ground saying like, yeah, like I don't mind when you take tangents, like I don't mind when you get meta and take these asides, like if that feels like it's authentic to you. And I think maybe that's why with this one and this one, I'm like, it's like being thirsty and then drinking a lot, like in that first gulp. Maybe I will naturally maybe tone it down with these meta divergences. But I am just so grateful, even though I'm all furrow-browed, I'm just so grateful that I've made that peace with myself. And yeah, I've been undoing a lot of muscle memory of just yeah, I would just sort of reach out to people, even though it was inauthentic. I was like, I reached out, why? And I never asked myself why. It's like, well, because you've got this outlet called the Insert Podcast. It's like, well, what if I just want to take my time and then make the show myself and have these big additive, you know, cozy experiences, creating these chronicles and diving into tangents. And like, that's what the very first episode was all about, you know, the very first video I ever put out. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm just having so much fun. So guys, I just want snacks. I really just want to have some Tim Tams right now, but health. Okay, are we going to do a Ghostbusters food corner? I think we are. So here we go. Speaking of taking all the tangents we want. That's kind of nice. Look at that. Boom. Save image to download. See this person again on that same. There we go. Boom. It's a whole thing, folks. Please look it up. It's very inspiring. It brings me a lot of joy. Here we go. Yeah, YHS. So shout out to YHS. They're wonderful. And shout out to Anne-Marie, who said she would pick up some cereal like this for me. I think she's from the Last of Us podcast. Yeah, I can't wait for that to arrive. Here we go. Little folded poster. I could see someone doing this for Afterlife, definitely. So what's this? It's like a mashup of some kind. That's very strange. I'll save it anyway, I guess. So what you're seeing here is which I honestly don't think don't be surprised if, like, when we go into that farmhouse, which, you know, Adam Savage has been doing amazing stuff. Adam Savage. And I just realized I clicked a couple days ago. Ghostbusters, Mythbusters, right? So he has a particular little kind of like, you know, wink or a nod towards like, yeah, we named our thing after that same kind of nomenclature, you know. And then Savage, Ghostbusters. There you go. This guy right here, boom, and then you have this material here. So this is the teaser trailer, but let's have a look and really sort of absorb this material, folks.
Adam Savage here in my cave with an announcement of sorts. I got to join the production of Ghostbusters Afterlife and really embed and watch them filming it. It was amazing.
It's real, and I'm on the set of the new Ghostbusters film.
I cannot wait until you see what we covered about the scope of this production, and I promise you that Ghostbusters Afterlife is coming soon. But to tide you over, we have here a few teasers of some of the things we saw on set.
So the idea was, let's buy that barn, bring it, and make it part of our set.
Who do you call to move a building?
If the camera sees a reflection, we can angle it ever so slightly.
So you can... Oh, that's so cool.
McKenna Grace, I want to introduce you to someone very special.
Okay.
This is Adam Savage. He is one of the smartest people we know and knows so much about science and movies and all the things that we love. And I believe he's brought something really special for us today.
Okay.
I think we're good.
Goodbye.
This was a film production populated entirely by Ghostbusters fanatics. And I got to geek out
Adam,
with every
you can see, yeah, look at this passion, right? And it's so lovely to see Jason, you know, all grown up from Ghostbusters 2, just directing his own Ghostbusters film.
On the property. Scene 23, take 3, Mark.
They use these big crane cameras, and some of them are really far away, so they need a really big slate. Can I sit in it?
I just realized that another word for these podcasts: appreciation rituals, knowledge deepening rituals.
This is the hero
me time that is then byproduct shared with you guys. I love it.
Fixes, adjusts, and brings to set all of the hero.
And I'm saying this seriously because, like, please just do it. I would love to hear a show like this. Just people be like, just fucking get really grounded and real about, like, you know. And yeah, I agree. Nothing could make me happier. I agree. Adam, let's go back. I want to hear it. I want to hear him say it.
Fantastic continuation of this franchise. Nothing could make me happier.
Boom. And I'll definitely be picking up some form of Ghostbusters Afterlife shirt. So, and that's beautiful. And he's they've done already. They've shared some some of this material from Ghostbusters. He is very prolific. He really puts out quite a fair bit, doesn't he? Conserving the X-Wing. That looks like one of the X-Wings from the modern one. Yeah, right there. Boom. Evil Dead. Should we just go Ghost? There we go. That's the Afterlife tour. That's just the 3 weeks ago. So the Ecto. Yeah, that's just the Ecto there. Yeah, okay, so just 2 so far. So I did look at this one. It's fairly interesting. I'll just jump into the middle here. So this is what I wanted to talk about with the setting of being this old barn house. And this is such an amazing device for what I think is the most effective form of storytelling, which is you have a certain character, a certain premise of a character encountering a certain environment which speaks to what the audience themselves are going through. So in many ways the audience is going to be like these young kids. They'll be like, what is this? Like they'll not know of Ghostbusters. They'll have maybe be considered looking at it, renting it, seeing it on Amazon, and then lead up. But by and large, a lot of kids are going to go into this being like, I just don't know. And that's Finn and McKenna going into this old house. So in this metaphor, the old house is the Ghostbusters franchise. It's old. It's like it's one down, but there's still a grandness to it. There's still magic. There's still something special in the air. The da-da-da, And folks, I gotta say, one of my happy places in this increasingly instant gratification filled world is old stuff, and it's grounding. I think I would definitely enjoy to stay for a number of months at such a farmhouse, like just unplugged. I hope there's actually, like, it's actually mentioned. It's like, I don't have any bars here, like I don't have reception here, and I think obviously when some of that supernatural stuff goes down, it would be lovely to be just like, yeah, phones are out the window, and I love that, because I think I would say what we lost has edged out what we've gained since many of the modern trappings of this era have come about. So there you go. But that'll be nice to see these kids jump in, and there's some wonderful theories about like how like Harold Ramis's Spengler is in the house, like his spirit is there guiding his grandchildren to this secret compartment. Again, what you think, it's like a Goosebumps novel. So some of you kids tuning in might not remember, but you'd have R.L. Stine, right, and his Goosebumps novels. And I wonder if I can flick back and forth between like some of the imagery created. So if we just go Goosebumps books art, like honestly, like Afterlife absolutely reads as a Goosebumps novel. Look at that. Like, I'll just maybe even bring up, I mean, it's got like a graveyard and stuff, but we'll just flick back and forth. I'm just gonna, I don't want to close that one. I want to keep that one open. Ghostbusters Afterlife barn. Yeah, just the whole premise, and it's the first place I saw the word whoa, W-H-O-A. It's like, whoa. I remember reading that in like 2001 when we came from Italy to Australia. See, boom, it's like it does have a bit of a haunted house kind of vibe, boom, boom. Yeah, see, and it's like, oh, that just makes me happy right there. Boom. Look at this thing. It's creepy. It's very, yeah. And the thing is, look at this design. It doesn't even feel too farmhousey, and I think they built the thing properly. And if they, man, I would love for them to do what the folks at Weta Workshop did, and New Zealand government, like they could make maybe a permanent locale or something so that people could like visit and give that town business, as like, you can visit the set and stuff on like guided tours, but it would have to be, I don't know, fenced. They would have to protect it, so because they would get everyone all the time, jumping in there. But I love the idea of this caved in barn ceiling that's got such a mystery to it. Farmhouse is now a pile of rubble and the barn is gone. This was the closest I could get before security escorted me away last week. That's cool. Yeah, exactly. See, and so boom, see how it's like I love that. So, but what I could see easily is them taking the same blueprints, building it all up again, one for one, and that's something that I admire about filmmakers, is that they can recreate things with great precision. from old blueprints. But that's what we're talking. Look at, okay, ready? Look at this. Look at that. That's perfect. That is absolutely perfect. Let's go, Ghostbusters farmhouse. And the reason that it's like, wow, you really keying into it. It's like, of course, because that's just, it's solace bringing. What can I say? And I am a firm believer in, like, you know, you don't have to toss it out if it works. And I think R.L. Stine with some of this Blues Brothers, that's another thing we're going to talk about. Hey, check that out. Ghostbusters 3, hilarious. 1998. There was a plan of some kind. Of course there was. You know, Ghostbusters Into Hell, I think it was. Anyway. Farmhouse. I think this will be my last flicker back and forth. I just love this shot. I love this shot so much. Boom. Excuse me. If there was a shot just of the front porch, that would be amazing. Okay, I'll just settle for that. Boom. Boom. I just see what I mean? Like, alright. So that brings me lots of joy. And if we loop back to the official site, we'll look at our other sort of launching points. So we watch some videos. I think that'll just be the mini puffs. That's amazing. I love that. Trailer 1, trailer 2. I want to see. Boom.
Hey, I am Jason Reitman. I'm the co-writer and director of Ghostbusters Afterlife. I'm going to be looking at
Ghostbusters.
Maybe a new home.
That's cool. Still works.
Start fresh.
Bash them ghosts. Bust them.
Historically, Ghostbusters movies were always about people going into business. It was about people starting a ghostbusting business together, and I suppose I knew immediately from the beginning that I wanted to make a movie about a family. This is a movie about the Spengler family. The Spengler family is disconnected, and this movie is about why.
You're a great mom.
I don't know. I'm fine with Trevor, but with Phoebe, she really keeps me on the outside.
That's normal.
You know, Gil Kennan and I immediately wanted to establish a new location for Ghostbusters. Obviously, the franchise is synonymous with New York City, but we wanted to go someplace new. We wanted to go to the American West. We wanted to go to farmland. We wanted a new color palette. We wanted to start a new idea. And this is a film that is about discovery, and it really is about a family retracing its roots. You know, we're immediately establishing Phoebe's character here as an outsider, and I think that's really important. I think, you know, these movies have always been about outsiders who discover themselves through ghostbusting. Ghostbusting has never attracted the people who are traditional heroes. They don't look or feel like superheroes. We wanted the movie to unfold like a mystery. Why is this family here? Who was their grandfather? Why did Egon come to this part of the country, to Somerville, Oklahoma? Why this house? What is under the floor? You know, we immediately recognized this piece of iconography from the 1984 Ghostbusters.
Such a cozy idea.
My connection with Ghostbusters always had to do with this ephemera. It was the packs, it was the traps, it was the car. A lot of this film for me was the thrill of what it would be like to discover all these things in your home. We studied all the original props. We measured them, we LiDAR'd them. We tried to get them down to the screw, down to the rust. It was very important to me right from the beginning that we are really paying homage to the original film and trying to recreate it to the best of our ability using old techniques when necessary. First of all, I'm not
that 80s like techiness, you know? Can't beat it.
And, you know, it was meant to kind of echo the top of Ecto 1. You know, throughout the film, you're going to be finding all these kind of mirror images to the 84 film. Sometimes it's going to be how the actual shot is composed. Sometimes there's, you know, little references and Easter eggs just to kind of the props and the ephemera of the original film. This was a house that we actually built from scratch, and we built twice. We built once on this location and then once out on a soundstage.
Your father wasn't much of a homemaker. He could hardly keep the power on.
Now, Janine, there's nothing more thrilling than being reintroduced to the characters we love from the films that we grew up on. And it was really exciting to work with Annie Potts again on Janine. And as you can see, she is still the most stylish person in the universe. We get the sense that Janine is still connected to Egon Spengler. In the 84 film, she was in love with him, and clearly she still has a connection to him, and that she was, you know, attempting to take care of him in his older age. this was one of the first ideas that ever came to me, was Ecto-1 wheat drifting, you know? And in my head, I had always thought of, snowboarding videos, and if there was a way to recreate that with a car in a field of wheat. It actually turned out to be a field of barley, for the farm aficionados out there. But we wanted to do as much practically on this film as possible. I think it's really clear when you look at the shot. We rebuilt Ecto-1 from the ground up, put a Corvette engine in it, and made it so that we could do all these things practically. So we spent a whole afternoon doing donuts with the Ecto-1 in the wheat field, and by the time it came back, you could actually smell the toasted barley coming out the front of the car. Paul Rudd plays a seismologist who comes to this small town because of these mysterious earthquakes and needs to find a job to pay the bills, and ends up teaching summer school to a bunch of kids who really don't care. Except for Phoebe, he somehow finds the one student who's just as smart as he is. You see Phoebe watching this Ghostbusters commercial on YouTube, and it really gives you a sense of how little she knows about her family. The movie takes place in real time, and much like anything that happened in 1984, if you grew up a child of the 2000s, like my daughter who is Phoebe's age, you really don't know that many things that happened in the 1980s. You know the major events, but one isolated event in New York City may not have found its way into your, chronology. A teenager, this would be the way you found out about them. You'd go online, and just like many things these days, there would be people who believed, and then there would be people who didn't believe, and there'd be conspiracy theories. First, you have the shot of the dry ice coming out of the chimney, and this is just another example of how much we wanted to do things practically. I think these days, they would just do that all CG, but we wanted to do practical effects as much as humanly possible. I mean, we would have conversations when we started this movie with anyone who was hired about whether they were a fan of the original and how it was made, its tone, its style, its color. We wanted this to feel like the original recipe, and that came down to old filmmaking technique being employed by people who just love the craft of movies. The PK meter is one of the great pieces of technology in ghostbusting. We associate it completely with Egon Spengler. It was his device. It's not just the way it looks and feels and moves, it's the sound of it. When you hear the PKE meter, it is different from any other sound. The same way that the proton pack, the trap opening up, the sounds of the ghosts, I really have to hand it to my father. When they made Ghostbusters, they made all these beautiful original choices that makes the film stand out years later. And it's not just how funny it was. It was the way the creatures looked, its way all the props operated and sounded. Yeah, I'll never forget where Gil and I were sitting when we came up with the mini puffs. We were talking about Stay Puft and this iconic, enormous character that was echoed in some ways through the 89 and 2016 films. And we knew we didn't want to do that again. And we thought, how do we reinvent Stay Puft? What if he was tiny? And we immediately identified these gremlin-like creatures who enjoyed watching the world burn, who were just like curious 5-year-olds who wanted to break everything, who didn't feel pain, and as a result could truly torture each other. And yes, at that point, it was impaling, it was burning, it was s'mores, any violent thing we could think of that we would want to do in a Walmart when we were 5 years old. Anyone who's a fan of the original film will recognize those pink streaks from 1984.
Especially that effect there of the clowns, looks so matte painted, so beautiful.
70mm footage
or
and scanned it.
Same.
So again, we were always attempting to
same filmmaking technique as the opening credits of Neverending Story.
Skeletal ghosts in this section. There was a piece of puppetry as designed by burning, it was s'mores, any violent thing we could think of that we would want to do in a Walmart when we were 5 years old. Anyone who's a fan of the original film will recognize those pink streaks from 1984. We actually found the original special effects 70mm footage and scanned it. So again, we were always attempting to go back to the original recipe and recapture as much as possible.
I love that use of original recipe, that phrasing.
A skeletal ghost in this section. There was a piece of puppetry as designed by Arian, obviously meant to echo the taxi ghost from the original. there's nothing like shooting with practical ghosts, with having something right there that the actors can work with. And for me, it's like putting on an old record, you know? It ties you back to a kind of filmmaking and a kind of watching movies that I grew up with. Again, if I think back to myself at 7 years old, seeing the original film, which I saw many times. I saw it during prep. I watched, you know, screenings of it. I went to the premiere of it. The thing that scared me the most was the terror dog. I spent my entire childhood thinking there was a terror dog under my bed. And I loved the way it moved.
Love the terror dogs. Always reminded me of
Ghostbusters is kind of like the first
Bronx.
scary film that...
From Gargoyles. Terror dog. Bronx. Gargoyles. Easiest look up ever. There has to be a comparison shot. Don't tell me. Come on. There you go. Boom. 1 and 2. I always thought, like, this is just a terror dog right here. I used to have this exact toy. Oh, wow. That's a trip. Amazing. We also do the Gargoyles podcast. Look at that. Ah, look at this. All stuff that I'm going to share later on the show. So shouts out to this artist. I will have to look them up with the reverse image search. I'm going to actually share people reverse image search. Please bookmark it now. We're literally taking this tangent right now. labnol.org/reverse. Upload image. Go to downloads. Gargle Between Demons. Look how quick it is. Easy it is to give credit to an artist. Boom. Old Stuff Goliath by Altegrin. Instantly, now I know who did it. You know what I mean? And like, too often, way too often, we don't credit in this like crazily, I think, over fast-paced, like way too fast-paced society. But yeah, there you go. Doing a bit of tab closing. I love that photo so much. And then this one, have to save it. All stuff for post later down the line, you know. I think people who follow along probably know that I prefer running the accounts even more than doing the shows themselves, but because it's just, I like to do these nice big, again, appreciation rituals, which I'm glad we've now like found a word for them on over the course of this show. Knowledge deepening, appreciation and knowledge deepening episodes. Totally, absolutely. Excellent. Jin Hauk, by the way, I hope they hire this person for some stuff. Like, look at this, like that's spooky, and like some interdimensional ghost stuff. That would be amazing. Look right there. I mean, you want to stay within the not too scary camp, but if we're going to some like crazy different worlds, like that would be amazing if we could do that, you know. Anyway, off we go.
People see, because it's like this
when we do that, manifest it.
Film that you can watch as a child. And the terror dog becomes one of the great monsters you're introduced to as a kid. And I love the way it moved. Even that kind of, that silly bunny hop.
I love the bunny hop.
When they did the claymation terror dog, when it flies through that door at Tully's apartment and hits the wall in New York, I could watch that clip over and over again. So one of the thrills of this film was bringing the terror dog back to life. Like, how could we get the terror dog to move now using our technology? And our terror dog is a mix of puppetry and beautiful CG. There's a spectral form of the terror dog as well in this trailer. You know, something about the original, when you try to kind of break down the way that terror
such
dog
an iconic face
worked in the original film, there were
just a certain kind of 80s-ness, I guess is the best way I can call it, of like,
which you saw
like,
the mechanics
like
of.
this. It makes me feel like, I don't know. Not too long ago I watched An American Werewolf in London, and again, there's just a certain style of jawline and like teeth ratio. It's just you can't really pinpoint it, but there's an exaggerated kind of something where they would have been going off of maybe 80s fantasy art at the time, and slightly kind of accentuated and yeah, it's great. So, but it's very iconic in its own way. And also, I want to comment on, I don't believe iconicness comes from just saying it's iconic. It actually has to legitimately be iconic. And already this thing with the upwards horns and everything, like the spectral form, like it's not piggybacking off the iconicness of the terror dog. It's iconic unto itself, you know, which I believe the film will be as well.
The terror dog mythology, and we wanted to explore what spectral terror dogs look like.
that was kind of one of the delightful things about the original, is there's a moment where, you know, the coat gets thrown on its head and it has to shake it off like a dog, and then when it bangs through the door in the original, it literally has to kind of find its footing again. That terror and goofiness mix is part of what makes it so good. So one of the things that we studied was the running of the bulls, and the way those bulls will smash into storefronts and then find their footing again, in the way that their hoods
right there.
lose traction on the bricks. This shot is also the tail end of a recreation of a shot from '84 of Ecto 1 flying out of the firehouse. You know, there's that great 180 it does.
That pitch black there is what I'm talking about. Look at that pitch black, right? And I can open back up some. There you go. Yeah. So glad. Something about pitch black footage shot in the 80s immediately puts me at ease. And they've captured that here. This screenshot is just enough. Imagine coming across this screenshot in like a fan magazine in like the 80s or like the late 80s. You know what I mean? Like, I must have saved this image like 50 times. My God. Just gratitude. And this is like my tangent taking space. The freedom is... Oh, and we actually have to check out Daniel Logan Kim. Is that Daniel Logan Kim? Is that his name? Is that an artist? Daniel Logan Kim, excuse me, is... Daniel Logan is Boba Fett Logan Kim. There you go, boom. Skills. I'm looking forward to seeing who Podcast is and that character. Oh, mini puff marshmallow s'mores. Oh, and then melting the chocolate. Come on, like, remember there is a parallel version of me that is just eating all this stuff all the time and just like this big. My God, life's so short. Just eat tasty things. I'm telling you. Beautiful. So we've been watching a couple of the different recaps and deep dives, but what I want to do is tail this one off. I'm just really happy now, I guess. What can I say? So let's go to reddit.com/r/Ghostbusters, and we'll filter by new. Did I add the R? I need to add the W. And you know what? What I'm hoping for is coming off of this, is we see like an amazing Beetlejuice 2. You know what I mean? Like, how incredible would that be? That would be so wonderful. And again, I have to shout out the process. You might be like, Albert, really? You're getting to having had said it a couple times, but believe me. Get your phone, open up a voice memo, and just start talking about something you love. It'll literally take you out of like any kind of a funk or a down space. Literally right now on YouTube, or in the podcast, like scroll back to the start of the episode. My tone of voice, that is still in that same register, but so much gratitude and so much joy, and like I'm so looking forward to, like, I will never compromise on that again. Like, that's a promise to myself right now. And in that camera, it's like, never compromise again. Like, it just has to feel fun. You know, you have to, knowledge and appreciation deepening. Like, it took me 200, this is on the main show, this will be 324, this will be. My word. And what we have for 325, I believe, if all goes accordingly, is talking a bit about Dark Souls, 10 years of Dark Souls, you know, considering there'd be no Bloodborne without Dark Souls, and, you know, there'd be no, this podcast in the way that it started without that. You know, I'm Dark Souls 3 is my favorite, but I'll look at all three of them for sure, and I'll see if I can get the compendium out, maybe, if it vibes. This stuff is messy. Ah. So you can make them, I suppose. And then I suppose you can eat them after that. Beautiful. Now, you know what I'm looking for. Did they take it down? I think they... Guys, they had to take it down because it is a spoiler. And I'm so glad I saved the image. Folks, Yeah, I remember coming off of this one, like, that was an actual request from the studio. Well, in that case, I'm about to show you something, folks. Are you ready? Just while I'm looking, I just want to highlight, like, see how Mancha still has that amazing kind of quality to him. Like, it just feels so consistent with the animated series as well. Here we go. Spoilerific. Now I'm excited. What we have here. Are you the gatekeeper? He is the keymaster. Are you the gatekeeper? Boom, right there. So, just wanted to riff about this, tie things off here. Hopefully, this doesn't mean like we're fairly deep into the show, so I don't feel like the triangles there. I don't feel like that's very It, you know, like as in the poster for It. Sorry, not It. The Thing poster, a very famous poster by Drew Struzan. And speaking of Drew Struzan, his almost like spiritual protege, see, very, very The Thing. His spiritual protege, speaking of which, is Paul Shipper, who I spoke with, who, Albert Kessler, I guess I'll just, as a contextual thing, boom, that's him and I speaking. And if you go Paul Shipper, Ghostbusters Afterlife, he has been doing some amazing, there you go, look at this, folks. A beautiful, beautiful cover art here. And remember, see this pixelization? Google didn't used to do this. It actually used to do full resolution shots, but what are you gonna do? Yeah, see, boom. Nice. Save agent. To their credit, when you click in, you can save it pretty easily. And this is also extremely iconic, like already, just that idea of the mini puffs. So shout out to Paul Shipper for his amazing, amazing work, and honoring the spirit of Drew Struzan in the posters of Ghostbusters Afterlife. So that ties off this episode, folks. The joy, the hype, you know. I really, you saw on the Amazon page, I have, thanks a lot, Greg, the Oreos, the extra puffed Oreos as well, and I just hope I can have a bowl of this cereal before it all goes down. But yeah, so it has been so lovely making our way through some of this material. I've already gained some appreciation and some facts I hadn't known about, and then the art book moment as well. So, but folks, have a lovely rest of your day, and until next time, bye for now.
There's something strange in the neighborhood.
So who you gonna call? Ghostbusters!
Each sold separately.
Have no fear. Venkman, Stamps, and Spangler are here. So are these ghosts. They've got ectoplasm. We've been gooped. Now what? Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Let's show this pile of dessert who's boss. Activate Neutrona Blaster. We ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Peter Venkman, Ectoplasm, Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, and other figures each sold separately. Ghostbusters, new from Kenner.
Ghostbusters!
Each sold separately.
See any ghosts? Not yet. Venkman, it's back to the bone. Get me out. Looks like you're really into them, Stan. Zap them. Safe. Not so safe. It's Sludge Bucket. What a slide. I've been gooped. Activate Neutrona Blasters. We ain't afraid of no ghosts. Ah!
Peter Venkman, Bad to the Bone, and Sludge Bucket with Ectoplasm, each sold separately. Ghostbusters from Kenner.
Ghostbusters!
Okay, where are those ghosts? Yo! They're everywhere! I'll reel this one into Ecto-1! Venkman, we're ghosts! That's them!
The real Ghostbusters, each sold separately. From Kenner.
We ain't afraid of no ghosts! Yuck! There's something strange in the neighborhood.
So who you gonna call? Ghostbusters!
Okay, where are those ghosts? Yow! They're everywhere. I'll reel this one into Ecto-1. Venkman, over here. It's Bug-Eye. I think he's got his eye on you, Winston. Uh-oh. Somebody needs a dentist. Watch it. That's Squisher. I've been gooped. Gross. Let's turn these ghosts to toast. Neutronize them.
Ghostbusters, each sold separately. From Kenner.
We ain't afraid of no ghosts. Yuck.
Ghostbusters!
each sold separately.
Ghosts in a football field? Nah. Hey, buddy, see anything weird? It's Tombstone Tackle. Don't lose your head. Let's take a hike. There's a policeman. We're safe. Oh, no, it's ex-cop. I can't believe my eyes. Whoa, we're not scared.
Peter Venkman with Gruesome Twosome, Tombstone Tackle, and X-Cop each sold separately. The real Ghostbusters, new from Kenner. Ghostbusters! Each sold separately.
Ghosts in a football field? Nah. Hey, buddy, see anything weird? It's Tombstone Tackle. Don't lose your head. Let's take a hike. You need help? A friendly garbage man. Hey, you! It's Terror Trash. I can't believe my eyes. Let's fly.
Peter Venkman with Gruesome Twosome, Tombstone Tackle, and Terror Trash each sold separately.
Spangler, this lab is spooky. Venkman, it's ahead. It's full speed ahead. What an eyeful. Let's split. Great car. Yikes, it's Highway Hunter.
The real Ghostbusters each sold separately.
Careful, Janine, this airport's haunted.
Relax, Spangler, we're alone.
Wow, great plane. That's not a plane.
It's air sickness! You look fit to be tied.
Run for it. Safe, let's go home.
Hey, mister, how about a lift?
Yikes, it's Wicked Willie!
I must need new glasses.
The real Ghostbusters each sold separately, new from Kenner. It's the real Ghostbusters Firehouse playset.
Venkman, our firehouse is haunted. No way. Oh no, I've been gooped. Goes to the stadium.
The real Ghostbusters each sold separately, assembly required.
Hey buddy, see anything weird? It's Tombstone Tackle. Don't lose your head. Take a hike. There's a policeman. Oh no, it's ex-cop. I can't believe my eyes. Whoa, we're not scared. Ecto-2 will roast those ghosts. Got him! Venkman, Ecto-2's a mean machine. It's Granny Gross. I hear ya. Run! Let's fly! Wait for me!
The real Ghostbusters. Figures and vehicles each sold separately, new from Kenner.
Ghostbusters! We showed her who's boss.
Wanna bet, Sonny?
Ghostbusters!
Attention all Ghostbusters. Be on the lookout for haunted humans. Wanted, Granny Gross. She's no sweet old lady. Wanted, Tombstone Tackle. He's no hero. Wanted, X-Cop. He's not on your side. To catch these ghosts, you need the real Ghostbusters. There's Peter, Egon, Winston, Ray. Each sold separately. They're running out fast.
Let's scare someone. Who are you going to call?
We're here. So are we. The Frankenstein and Dracula monsters. Watch this. Get 'em, boys. Ghosts. Funny guy. Watch him scream. Ah, look out. Now your turn to scream. Fun to scare.
The real Ghostbusters, each sold separately, new from Kenner.
Fun to zap.
Can I scare?
Scare Ghostbusters.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, who's there? Me. Oh, the Wolfman monster. Run!
Each sold separately.
Say, I need a rest. Roar! It's fearsome flesh. Sick 'em, guys. Go! I flip my lid when he's scared. Ah! It's a howl when he's scared. Ah!
The real Ghostbusters, new from Kenner.
Blast them! Ah! Ghostbusters! We're here. So are we. The Frankenstein and Dracula monsters. Get 'em, boys. Ghosts! Funny guy. Watch him scream.
The real Ghostbusters, each sold separately. When slime is on the rise, oozing out of control, who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! Each sold separately.
Any ghosts in the museum? Nah. What about me and my mummy? Mummy monster! Drop everything, Winston! Heads up, Venkman! Blast him! What a pinhead! Run! Safe! Now for the little shrimp. Ecto-3'll get him.
The real Ghostbusters, new from Kenner.
Got him! I want my money!
When ghosts come alive and rear their ugly heads, who you gonna call?
Ghostbusters!
Each sold separately.
Any ghosts in the museum? Follow me! Hi, guys! Meet my mummy, the mummy monster! Drop everything, Winston! Heads up, Bankman! Blast him! What a pinhead! Run! Look, the little ghost! Ecto 500 will nail him!
The real Ghostbusters, new from Kenner.
Nailed him! I'm up for this!
We interrupt with a Ghostbuster bulletin. Supernatural activity has been sighted in Chicago. Ghostbusters are going live to the scene.
Look out!